They told you gold was outdated, a relic, a leftover from a system the world had moved beyond. No yield, no innovation, no place in a modern economy. And for a while, that story worked. Because as long as everything felt stable, gold looked unnecessary. But what if it was never obsolete? What if it was just waiting? Pause. Every financial system runs on one fragile foundation: trust. Trust in governments, trust in currencies, trust in institutions. And when that trust is strong, you don't question the system. You participate in it. But when trust starts to weaken, quietly, gradually, almost invisibly, something interesting happens. People don't panic. First, they reposition. Short line. And when trust moves, so does value. That's where gold re-enters the picture. Not as a trend, not as speculation, but as a signal. Because gold doesn't depend on promises. It doesn't rely on policy decisions. It doesn't shift based on interest rate narratives. It just exists. Finite. Recognized. Outside the system. That's what makes it different. And that's why it never needed to compete. It only needed to wait. Let's go deeper. When the global financial system moved away from gold decades ago, it didn't eliminate gold's importance. It replaced its asterisk role asterisk. Instead of backing currencies directly, gold became a reserve, a quiet layer of security, almost invisible to the public, but never ignored by those running the system. Here's what most people miss. While the world focused on digital finance, credit expansion, and complex financial instruments, central banks never stopped holding gold. In fact, they've been increasing it. Not loudly, not in a way that draws attention, but consistently. And consistency reveals intention. Short line. Smart money doesn't abandon insurance. Now ask yourself, why would institutions that understand the system better than anyone continue accumulating an asset that supposedly has no role? Because they're not reacting to headlines. They're preparing for scenarios. Scenarios where trust shifts, where currencies fluctuate, where systems face pressure. Gold doesn't need to dominate in those moments. It just needs to hold. And holding is power. Let's interrupt that thought. This isn't about a collapse narrative. It's about positioning. Because the biggest mistake you can make is assuming the current system is permanent. Every system in history felt permanent, until it wasn't. And when transitions happen, they don't erase everything. They rebalance. Value shifts. Power redistributes. Foundations adjust. And assets that seemed irrelevant suddenly matter again. That's gold. Not as a replacement for everything, but as a counterbalance. Now here's the contrast. On one side, people chasing trends. They move with momentum. They follow narratives. They react to what's visible. On the other side, people watching fundamentals. They track trust. They observe behavior. They notice where institutions are positioning. They don't wait for confirmation. They recognize direction. Short line. Direction matters more than headlines. Because headlines tell you what already happened. Direction tells you what's coming. Now bring it back to the present. Rising uncertainty, shifting global dynamics, changing economic structures. These aren't isolated events. They're signals, not loud, but consistent. And in the background of all of it, gold is being accumulated. Not celebrated, not hyped, just acquired. That's how strategic moves look. Quiet, deliberate, patient. Because gold doesn't need attention. It benefits from being overlooked. It moves best when people think it doesn't matter. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people only look at gold after it's already moved. After prices rise, after headlines appear, after the shift becomes obvious. But by then, they're reacting, not positioning. And reaction always comes at a cost. Short line. You don't prepare during the shift. You prepare before it. That's what gold represents. preparation, not for a specific event, but for uncertainty itself. Because no matter how advanced the system becomes, one thing doesn't change. Trust can fluctuate. And when it does, value seeks stability. Gold provides that. Quietly, consistently, without needing permission. So the next time you hear someone say gold is obsolete, pause. Ask yourself, if it truly didn't matter, why do the most powerful institutions in the world still hold it? Because they're not looking at what's popular. They're looking at what endures. And gold has outlasted every system built around it, not by competing, but by waiting. If this changed your perspective, subscribe, because the next video might show you what's quietly gaining value while everyone else is distracted.